For most of us, reaching the summit of Mount Everest represents the ultimate human achievement. Yet every climbing season, experienced mountaineers from around the world make the same journey, and some never return. Surprisingly, the summit itself is often not the deadliest part of the climb. The greatest danger begins just below it, above an altitude of 8,000 meters, an environment climbers call the death zone. Here, every breath delivers too little oxygen to sustain the human body. Your brain slows down, your muscles weaken, simple decisions become dangerously difficult. No matter how strong or experienced you are, your body is slowly shutting down. Modern equipment, years of training, and even supplemental oxygen can reduce the risk, but they cannot eliminate it. So why do people continue climbing into a place where survival itself becomes a race against time? Because understanding the death zone isn't just the story of Mount Everest, it's the story of the absolute limit of human survival. Standing at 8,848.86 meters, Mount Everest is the highest point on Earth, rising along the border between Nepal and China in the heart of the Himalayas. For centuries, its summit remained beyond human reach. In 1953, Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay became the first climbers confirmed to stand on its peak, proving that the impossible could be achieved. Since then, Everest has become the ultimate challenge for mountaineers. Every year, hundreds of climbers travel from across the world, spending weeks acclimatizing, waiting for a brief weather window that may last only a few days. Reaching the summit demands months of preparation, years of experience, and extraordinary physical endurance. But success is never guaranteed. Because Everest's greatest obstacle is not its steep slopes, its freezing temperatures, or its violent storms. It is the invisible reality waiting above 8,000 meters, a place where the human body can no longer adapt, and every minute spent there brings it closer to failure. The death zone begins long before the summit, and once a climber enters it, the mountain is no longer the only enemy. At sea level, every breath provides enough oxygen for the body to function normally. But as altitude increases, air pressure drops dramatically. The percentage of oxygen in the atmosphere remains the same, about 21%. The problem is pressure. Above 8,000 meters, the air becomes so thin that each breath delivers far fewer oxygen molecules to the lungs. With less oxygen entering the bloodstream, the brain, muscles, and vital organs begin to struggle. To compensate, climbers breathe faster and their hearts beat harder, trying to deliver enough oxygen to keep the body alive. But these are only temporary responses. Unlike lower elevations, the death zone offers no true adaptation. Acclimatization can improve survival for a limited time, but it cannot overcome the extreme lack of oxygen. Even with supplemental oxygen, climbers are operating far below normal human performance. Every step requires enormous effort. Every movement consumes precious energy. Every minute spent at this altitude pushes the body closer to its physiological limit. In the death zone, survival is no longer about strength. It becomes a race against time. The first organ to suffer is the brain. As oxygen levels fall, concentration fades, reaction times slow, and judgment becomes unreliable. Simple decisions that would take seconds at sea level can become surprisingly difficult. Climbers may lose their sense of direction, forget routine tasks, or fail to recognize obvious danger. The muscles are affected just as quickly. With too little oxygen to produce energy efficiently, every step feels heavier than the last. Even clipping a carabiner or adjusting an oxygen mask can become exhausting. Fatigue builds rapidly, while recovery becomes almost impossible. The heart responds by working harder, pumping faster in an effort to deliver more oxygen throughout the body. At the same time, breathing becomes deeper and more frequent, yet each breath provides only limited relief. As the hours pass, the body burns through its remaining energy reserves. Dehydration worsens, body temperature drops, and coordination begins to fail. A single mistake, a missed foothold, an unclipped safety line, or a delayed decision can become fatal. This is why experienced climbers spend as little time as possible above 8,000 meters, because in the death zone the human body is not adapting, it is slowly shutting down. Lack of oxygen is only the beginning. One of the most dangerous conditions is high-altitude cerebral edema, or HACE. As the brain swells from severe oxygen deprivation, climbers may become confused, lose coordination, speak irrationally, or struggle to walk in a straight line. Without immediate descent, the condition can rapidly become fatal. An equally deadly threat is high-altitude pulmonary edema, known as HAPE. Fluid begins to leak into the lungs, making every breath more difficult than the last. Victims often experience extreme shortness of breath, persistent coughing, and a crushing sensation in the chest. Even while resting, the body can no longer absorb enough oxygen. Meanwhile, temperatures can fall below -30 degrees Celsius, while powerful winds drive the wind chill far lower. Exposed skin freezes within minutes, leading to frostbite that can permanently damage fingers, toes, and facial tissue. The intense sunlight creates another invisible danger. At high altitude, the thinner atmosphere filters less ultraviolet radiation, increasing the risk of severe snow blindness and skin damage. None of these threats announce themselves. They build quietly, often while climbers are focused on a single goal, reaching the summit before time runs out. By the time climbers reach the death zone, physical exhaustion is only part of the battle. Oxygen deprivation also changes the way the brain makes decisions. One of the most dangerous effects is known as summit fever, the overwhelming determination to reach the top, even when every warning sign says it's time to turn back. At extreme altitude, judgment becomes impaired. Climbers may ignore worsening weather, underestimate how much oxygen they have left, or convince themselves they can descend later. Some report hearing voices. Others describe seeing people who were never there. These hallucinations are rare, but they reveal how severely the brain can be affected by prolonged hypoxia. This is why experienced mountaineers follow a simple rule. The summit is only halfway. Standing on the highest point on Earth means nothing if there isn't enough strength or enough oxygen to make it back down. On Everest, reaching the summit is optional. Returning alive is the real success. For those who die in the death zone, the mountain often becomes their final resting place. At altitudes above 8,000 meters, recovering a body is one of the most dangerous tasks imaginable. Rescue teams face the same lack of oxygen, extreme weather, and constant risk of exhaustion as the climbers they are trying to retrieve. A single recovery can require multiple Sherpas, specialized equipment, and days of planning, placing many more lives in danger. Because of these risks, many bodies are never brought down. Some remain where they fell for years, preserved by the freezing temperatures and thin, dry air. Over time, a few became well-known landmarks along popular climbing routes, serving as silent reminders of the cost of a single mistake. For the families left behind, the loss is immeasurable. For those still climbing, each passing body is a powerful reminder that the death zone does not distinguish between beginners and experts. On Everest, experience can improve your chances, but it can never guarantee your return. Modern climbing has transformed Everest, supplemental oxygen, lightweight equipment, satellite communications, detailed weather forecasting, fixed ropes, and the extraordinary support of Sherpa teams have made the mountain more accessible than ever before. These advances have saved countless lives and increased the number of successful summits, but they have not changed the environment. Above 8,000 meters, the air is still too thin for the human body to survive for long. Every climber, regardless of experience or technology, remains bound by the same biological limits. The death zone has never been conquered. Humanity has simply learned how to spend a little more time inside it. Mount Everest is often described as the highest place on Earth, but its greatest lesson is not about height. It is about human limits. The death zone reminds us that no amount of determination can rewrite the laws of biology. Strength, skill, and courage all matter, but above 8,000 meters, survival depends on something even more fragile: time. Every successful climber eventually makes the same decision, not to keep climbing, but to turn around before the mountain makes that decision for them. Because in the end, the greatest achievement on Everest is not standing on the summit, it is coming home.